Thanks, Diane, for the introduction. You're quite right. I don't really look like the Frank Robinson that you described. It's one of those moments in my life that I get to say, let me be frank with you. And I always want to be able to say that. So here I go. Frank wasn't able to join us this afternoon. Something pressing came up, so he asked me to step in. So here I am. Like Diane had mentioned, I sure look forward to having everyone join us in person. As you can see by the background, I wasn't planning on doing this. I would have found a more exciting background, probably one that included my pet dogs, but I'm in the beautiful Genoa room at the Cambridge Hotel here in Red Deer. So I am hoping that you all join me in person next year. So to the topic at hand, back in May, I guess it was, of last year, May of 2021, Frank had received this bizarre phone call from the Green Certificate Program, Deanna Chris. And apparently this young man, Tyson Lancaster, had contacted her, and they'd had a few visits because Tyson had this brainwave idea that maybe he could do a Green Certificate program with some of his students. He wanted to be able to engage them. And from my visits and with Tyson, he certainly is engaging, and he's passionate about teaching, and he's certainly passionate about the students he works with and wants nothing but success for them. So he sat with Deanna, I guess, and they looked through these Green Certificate programs and all the different poultry options, and he selected table eggs as one that would be reasonable for him to follow. And on the cover, he saw Frank's name because he didn't really know where else to start. So they decided to give Frank a call. And as Diane said, the moment of excitement of teaching young people, Frank gets very excited about that. And in fact, Frank had written the Green Certificate program back in 2015, so he was more than happy to jump on side, and met with Tyson a few times. And I know that his office is in our basement right now, and he was extremely excited that this was happening. Got all excited, planned things out, met with Tyson, and kind of like the rest is history, I suppose. They're making history now, and you're going to hear about some of that history. I hope they'll continue to make history. So without further ado, I think we should look at Tyson and have him speak, see what happens when you take one teacher, 6 students and 26 hens, and what happens when you put those together, and then with Frank involved as well as the rest of the folks you'll hear about from Tyson. So Tyson, take it away. It's yours now.
Thank you, Nancy. I never know how to take such great accolades, and we have to make sure we throw those onto the students because they did the work of this program, right? They did all the learning. Mind you, I did a lot of learning too. So I guess this program wouldn't be possible without the fine lines of connection of who you can get to know when making education real life. Mrs. Stashniak's in the back here. She's our principal, and she came to me. Well, we were working together at the time. I was the assistant principal, and we were looking at trying to create a timetable that, from the lens of fitting around students rather than students fitting into a timetable. And she does such an excellent job of taking a look at our whole school and seeing needs. And so we got talking, and she's like, I think we can run Green Certificate. And then a couple of days later, she's like, I don't think we can run the Green Certificate. We can't, no. And I said, well, challenge accepted. Let me run with it. And she said, are you sure? Are you sure? And she has this way of are you sure? Are you suring someone that makes you go, well, I don't know. Yes, we're going to do this. So I don't know, make a longer story short. I reached out to Deanna Chris, who I had a personal connection with from Green Certificate. And actually, she works for Lakeland College in a few different departments. And I said to her, we're thinking about doing this. Where do we start? She said, well, come on out. So I sat in her office in Vermilion for a good half a day going through these books, and she says, oh, you can do this. You've got this. She's like, well, there's people in the industry. Let me reach out. Let me see if we can get you some support. And I went out with quite a lot of hope, but no clue what to do or what I was going to do. So come back quite excited. Phone with Stashniak was like, yeah, this is something we can do. And I sat down with the book and went, okay, we can do it. There's a lot of words here, and I don't understand half of them. So I guess my story is why chickens. We had a building on our campus, on the school campus, that sat there. It was falling apart. It was in dire need of repair, but it was good bones to it. It stored some very dusty old desks and grad stuff, and the majority of it got hauled to the dump. And when we took a look at this shed, I saw potential. It was an 8 by 12 hip roof shed. Already looked like a barn. I thought, yeah, we're on. We can do this. You're going to hear me. We can do this a lot, because I think I've had to coach a lot of we can do this throughout this. But yeah, so we said chickens because we thought, well, it's small on campus. What risk? No one's going to get kicked by a chicken. Might get pecked. We can deal with that as long as you don't get a rooster. My experience with the rooster was that my grandparents being chased down the barnyard with that. I was staying clear of that. But really and truly, I had zero experience with chickens. I grew up Sedgwick, Alberta, outside of, and my grandparents had horses in an unheated barn with chickens that ran around -50. I'm sure now that's probably not great animal welfare. I don't advise. But their heat came from the horses' backs. They set up in the rafters, and that's what I knew. Collected their eggs once in a while, and roosters were scary. Frank reached out. We had a Zoom call with him, and he's like, I see potential in this. Let me connect with some people. Should we put together an advisory board? I said, okay, sure. Well, you're going to see in a video here shortly all of the people who have hopped on board for as donors and as information like gurus about every aspect of the birds. And to give Frank accolades, he spent, I forgot to tally it, but out of the semester, I think he missed maybe 5 days of hour-long classes that he didn't teach last semester to my class voluntarily. I would say that's probably about how many he missed. He was with us quite often. He'd zoom in, he'd have slides ready to go, pictures, stories, great chicken jokes, and then was just on call 100% of the time whenever there was an issue in the barn. The other piece of this is we really harnessed a volunteer in our community who donated 60 hours volunteer time to lead the build, taking this musty old shack and turning it into a chicken coop. So in our community as well, like it's just been the whole lens that I've had to go with is what is real life? If you were to do this program not in school, what do? Right? You reach out to people who know what they're doing, and don't pretend like you know what you're doing. And so when I handed it over and said, okay, you're an expert in this, great. You're an expert in this. Oh, thank you. And then just sharing so much gratitude to that. We had feed donated. Art Van Zanten is here with us today. He drove out with our next load of feed and has taught us about nutrition, all of that kind of stuff. We had several Zoom calls. Balancing this program in a COVID world, as anything, has been entertaining at its best, I guess. Making sure that, if I was out, there was someone to cover. If the kids were away, we just made it work. We were not allowed to go on field trips. Frank did his best to describe places to us. This opportunity to zoom in and be a part of the Western Poultry Conference has been our first real field trip this year, and we're still in our building, and it's just exciting. So I share gratitude to that as well. And lastly, I guess, I don't know, I'll leave the question and answer period because I don't know what you want to know, other than we just did it. We had to get permission from the county because our village turned into a hamlet, and then apparently a poultry bylaw wasn't maybe their priority when they were switching over bylaws. So we had to go through a lot of red tape. I had to make lots of phone calls to councillors to say, here's what we're going to do, and can we get this approved? And we started the program teaching without actual approval yet. So we were about a week into the school year before we got actual approval, and hoping that we would make this happen, and it did, thankfully. I think the biggest ode that I could share is the tenacity of these guys back here. They're too humble here, sitting back here to tell you, but if you were to hear each one of their stories, what they've gone through this semester, what they, having to rearrange their weekend schedules to come in and do chores to earn success. Every one of these guys have passed their first 2 modules. They have 1 module to go, and they also have got their Agriculture 3000 on their own. the hard work and dedication that they've put into studying, to listening, to joining Zoom calls, their improvement of attendance this year, and just knowing what I know about them, that's what this program was about, was to make sure that we reached students where they needed to be reached in order to graduate. It's pretty cool, I think, anyway, and maybe this is just me, but I didn't have the opportunity to get 17 credits from raising animals at school. And I think this would have been like, just to allow to have a program and have the support to have a program that we had, I should say, to give students who live in town, students who used to be from a farm that had to move to town, students with extenuating circumstances to have an appreciation of agriculture, is number one at the forefront of this program. And the students are always at the forefront of any decision that I make. Even if sometimes we disagree with how things should go, they bring a lot of great ideas, and I've had to say, you're right, I'm wrong, and good idea, let's go with it, right? And give up that control back to the kids, because they're the farmers. So anyway, I don't know what else to say. Let's roll the video and then we'll go to Q&A. We'll give you guys some, honor your time there, and I can think of some other things to tell you.
Dewberry School is a small, rural, K-12 school in the hamlet of Dewberry, Alberta, with a population of about 84 students. As a part of Buffalo Trail Public Schools, our mantra, working together for success, applies not only to our school, but also far reaches into our community. This is apparent in the multitude of support we received in the development of our poultry program in partnership with Green Certificate and many other names from the poultry industry. In May of 2021, together Principal Tamara Stashniak and then Assistant Principal Tyson Lancaster had a vision to create a timetable designed around student needs rather than to design students around a timetable. With a heart for agriculture but little experience, Lancaster set out to talk to Deanna Chris from Green Certificate about the possibility of converting this musty old storage shed into a modern backyard flock table laying facility. With her connections in the industry, she was able to reach out to Dr. Frank Robinson from the University of Alberta, who not only co-wrote the curriculum for Green Certificate, he graciously hopped on board to create an advisory committee to gather donations of materials, time, experience, feed, and ultimately, the hens themselves. Community member and retired carpenter Bruce Maddox donated over 60 hours to advise the build, instruct, and see the project to its completion. Dr. Frank offered a short course on backyard coops, and the students were on their way. October 25th was an exciting day when Susan Schaefers of STS Farms, who donated our 27 Lowman Brown laying hens, along with Dr. Valerie Carney, Poultry Innovation Partnership Lead, Nancy Robinson, Assistant Manager of Alberta Hatching Egg Producers, and Hank Katarian, broiler and turkey producer of Meant to Be Agribusiness Limited, traveled to Dewberry School to deliver our hens and provide instruction on handling and introduction of birds to a new environment. We further express our gratitude to Art Van Zanten of Trow Nutrition for the donation of our feed, for teaching us about bird nutrition, and for teaching us how to properly weigh our hens.
what do I really like about the Green Certificate program? Well, for starters, it's fun learning about and taking care of chickens, especially biology, which is perhaps my favorite subject. It's practical, not just for if you want to become a chicken farmer, but also if you want to seek other careers. And it looks good on a resume, can't deny that.
It's been fun building the chicken coop, having like Frank and everyone teach us how chickens need to be fed and how everything needs to be done.
Yeah, when people ask me what I'm doing in my grade 12 year, and I say I'm raising chickens, and they say, well, at school? And I'm like, yeah, at school. When you chose to take this course, you became very responsible for the welfare of these animals and how even everybody on your group, in your class, takes care of them. It's not just every separate person. You have to work together.
Further gratitude is extended to Dave Lestuka of Egg Farmers of Alberta, as well as Tammy Etherington from Green Certificate, who not only served as advisors to our program, but were also our assessors. Their ability to lead fair assessments and connect with the students provided the students with confidence in their knowledge and newly developed skills. Gratitude is also extended to the County of Vermilion River for approving and amending bylaws to make this program possible, and our community members who purchase eggs, donate monetary funds, advertise our program in local newsletters, and continue to be advocates for rural education.
I think that that's a marvelous program. It's great to see what you've done with it. Maybe first of all, Tyson, tell us a little bit about the marketing. Was that another aspect of the community outreach? I'm guessing you had a lot of eggs to sell with that many hens.
Yeah, it's really word of mouth. In Dewberry, I think there's 250 people in our community, and the surrounding area. We have some pretty much repeat offender buyers, I guess, if you will, who reach out to me first now. And it was just a lot of word of mouth. Kids talking to their families, they get to take their eggs, like when they come in on weekends, they get to take eggs. So that helps a little bit too. But we get roughly 2 dozen eggs a day. And we have family that buy, few families buy 5 18 packs a week. So they go fast, which is good. We haven't done a whole lot with marketing other than, again, word of mouth, because we were a little bit concerned that we wouldn't be able to meet the needs of the community at the start, right? So, yeah.
Great. Well, just a reminder, if you've got any questions for Nancy, AKA Frank, but you saw Nancy was actually out and involved with the program as well. And for Tyson or the students, just to type it in the question and answer. Oh, there, look, I see somebody already got one in. Okay, Valerie is asking, what did you see as the most surprising thing that the students learned?
What do you guys think? What's the most surprising thing you learned?
It's really surprising. It was all new. So we had any pre-established ideas of how taking care of chickens or what would that be like. So I guess nothing was too surprising because everything was new.
So I'm not sure if our mic is picking it up or not, but I guess they're kind of the consensus right now that for them, nothing was too surprising, everything was new. For me, I guess, I looked at it from more of a whole school perspective. I looked at attendance, and attendance was up this year compared to last. And I also, surprised me is their confidence going into the assessment, and then coming out knowing the information, and taking the lead on different aspects of the coop, right? Coming in and noticing a need and filling it, that sort of thing would be about it. The other piece from a whole school perspective is seeing an improvement in other classroom marks compared to other years, that sort of thing too. I don't know if that has to do with this, but I look at that factor as well as their social teacher, and I think the lowest mark in social was a 60. So good job, guys.
That's cool. Good job. We've had another question come in. What's going to happen to the chickens over the summer? How are you going to manage it year round? Or are you going to continue it next year? I guess. So tell us a little
That's a
bit
good
about that.
question. Actually, I have a 3-year-old at home who loves coming to the school on weekends to do chores when the kids can't. So I'm going to purchase the flock this year as the first purchase, and then each year what we've discussed is that we'll sell the flock and start fresh every year so that students can see. We get them at about 20 weeks from Susan Schaefer's, and next year we'll actually have the funds to purchase them. That's our intent, is to purchase them from Susan again and watch them go from not laying and see the development of the laying hen and that sort of thing. So this year I'll buy them, next year somebody else can.
Tyson, I guess that means you're becoming an official chicken rancher.
Frank has me converted.
There you go. Hey, also another question. Has this sparked an interest in other farm animal commodities for any of the students? From chickens to other animals? Anybody sort of thinking about a career in agriculture, or maybe raising some other types of animals, even through the Green Certificate?
What do you guys think?
I mean, this man already works with cows, so.
What were you saying about cows?
This man here works with cows, so yeah, he's already.
Oh, you already have some experienced cow people.
Yeah, we do have cattle farmers and grain farmers and equine experts in the area. Chickens was new. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. And any budding future ag students for Dr. Frank at the university?
We shall see.
All right. Hey, more questions are coming in. Would you ever consider doing meat birds or turkeys?
Great question. We're in talks for next year as to what we're going to do. Frank did have a few ideas that he ran past me, potentially running a session of meat birds. Yes, we've talked about turkeys as well. We're open, I think, to anything at this point. Just depending. I think moving forward, we'll give more to the students to decide, which direction we're going to go. And again, who is there, maybe to help us along the way. So teach us along the way. A lot of this was, I took as many notes or more as the kids in the Green Certificate book as we go through the year. And I think, totally open to that. No plans yet.
Diane, can I just say something?
I was just going to say, Nancy, do you want to jump in any other suggestions?
Well, I think just one thing that it has helped me observe. I know when my children were in elementary school and you had, there were some classes for, the kids might have been behind a bit or whatever, but they always had a talent and a skill set somewhere else other than the traditional method of teaching. And I think what this has really shown me, and I hope the students themselves, and of course, Tyson and anybody listening as well, that if you have the passion and belief in a group of students, you can help them learn in a way that works for them and they can achieve success. And sometimes our school systems are a little bit too prescriptive and don't allow those successes to happen. And then students start to feel a little bit of a failure because they're not fitting into that sort of mold. But with the right passion and time and dedication, I think we can show these young people that they do have great abilities to achieve as well. They might just want to learn and it's differently than other traditional methods. And I think it's a really valuable lesson for that.
Yeah, great point. And also kind of that whole responsibility, giving them ownership in it as well. That adds a lot in terms of real life learning that Tyson talked about. We've got another question that's come in. Was there any supplemental heat in the coop? Tell us a bit about the cold winter and how you coped with that.
It has been a winter. We actually purchased a cozy coop heater, a panel heater to start with, and the first cold snap, our waters froze up. And so Art actually was out just right around that time and noticed that there was some humidity in the coop, that sort of thing. And we actually just hooked up a forced air heater, just a cheap plug-in heater, and ran it through. So in the front, I don't know if you noticed in the front, in the pictures at the front of our barn, we had a little office way, kind of our biosecurity zone. And so it's the heater actually hangs up and blows from the office way into the coop through so that it circulates the air out the far vent. And so that has been a tricky game, just making sure that the coop stays, not too hot and not too cold. And that, we notice that the temperature, if it gets too warm, we're shutting that heater off, because then it just gets muggy in there, right? So that's been our supplemental heat this year. We've been able to keep the coop. Our goal has been to keep it above zero, so that we're not worrying about waters freezing and that sort of thing. And we wanted to make sure that our hens maintained that they were going to continue laying, right? If it got too cold, we were worried that they would quit laying, and that would defeat the purpose of our program.
All kinds of real life learning that real live farmers get to deal with every day, that's for sure. All right, we've got about 2 minutes left. If anybody has one last question they'd like to ask either Tyson or Nancy or the students, type it up real quick. Have you really seen it become kind of a whole community project, Tyson? And I guess Nancy, if you observed too, has it been a bit of a community building that they all felt vested in this project as well?
I think it's getting there. Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, the conversation on the street is, how are the chickens doing? Every person I run into is, how are the chickens doing? Where can I get some eggs? So that's the investment piece there. We were very fortunate that, to start the year, to get going, Mrs. Dashniak really worked the budget to make sure that we could afford to get this program started. And so I thought we would have to do much more fundraising than we did. And it worked out that we were really able to sustain this program this year. Moving forward, I know that I've had lots of people say, hey, when you need it, reach out. And so, monetarily, that's been more the investment. Especially, we haven't been allowed to have too many guests in person, but we did have community members donate paint and building supplies and obviously time to build the coop, that sort of thing. But as the year has gone on, the hard part was really that September, October, November, getting used to getting it built, getting used to learning, getting used to being responsible for animals. And then it just kind of rolled. We kind of got into our routines, and we took our time to, just keep going. And the community has really been, supportive in that word sense of saying, yes, this is great, and let us know, keep us posted, how's it going, that sort of thing.
The thing I don't know if you noticed is that Tyson, at the beginning, he did comment that he has a school of 84 students. That's 84 in K-12, folks. So that's a pretty tiny school we're talking. So it's a pretty impressive accomplishment for such a small school. I do see a question on here from Jenna regarding conversations with other schools who are interested. And I know that Frank has heard of other schools that might be interested. But I think the big concern is that while everybody's looking at this as a huge success, because it absolutely is a huge success, it's not without a huge amount of time and effort from Tyson, of the students themselves, of course, but I mean, the Tyson has to have, or the lead teacher has to have that time and passion. And then, to be frank with you, so to speak, as Tyson said, Frank spent pretty well every morning during the semester teaching those young people. I shouldn't say teaching, he was working with them and he loved doing it. But it's a huge time commitment, and thankfully it's something he's passionate about and was more than happy to do it. But he couldn't be at 7 different schools at the same time. So that's where the challenge would lie, I think, is getting other people that would be willing to share the curriculum and help with that part of it to get another school going. If that could happen, then I'm sure, together with a passionate teacher.
And Nancy, maybe just while we're on that, as someone involved in the industry yourself, are there some big picture industry benefits from projects like this? How does the industry benefit from having young people get some real life experience in something like poultry?
I think we're seeing more and more, even if you look at the university students themselves, so many more of them coming from non-agricultural backgrounds in the first place. And I realize these students are from a rural setting. However, from the poultry world, specifically the poultry industry, if they don't have that, everybody always wants, when you're looking for whether it's a volunteer job, whether it's a part-time job, anything like that, the first thing they ask is, what's your experience? Well, you end up with, pardon me, the chicken and egg situation, because you can't get experience without someone taking a chance and a risk and trusting that you can learn from that experience, and then you gain the experience so that you have it next time. So I think with this, it's a huge opportunity to showcase poultry and get us involved, the industry folks involved with schools, which is what we always want to do, is whatever the age, in high school is the great one, because then we want to capture them and pull them into the university setting. So I think it's a great opportunity for us all to learn from it and to help those students be aware of the world that they could have, opportunities of participating in as they get older. So sure, it's great.